Hey there, folks. Thanks for tuning in to SkyAlert USA. If you want to stay ahead of the storm and get the latest weather updates, don't forget to follow us, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and leave a comment. Your support really helps us keep bringing you these critical updates. SkyAlert USA Critical Weather Update December 24th, 2025 Christmas Eve Storm Systems. Breaking weather alert. Major winter systems impact North America. Good evening from SkyAlert USA. This is your comprehensive weather briefing for December 24th, 2025, Christmas Eve, and we have significant weather developments unfolding across the United States and Canada that demand your immediate attention. Multiple dangerous storm systems are converging on North America, creating life-threatening conditions from the Pacific coast to the Atlantic seaboard. Today's critical weather situation. December 24th, 2025. California catastrophic storm, highest alert level. The most dangerous situation currently unfolding is in California, where the National Weather Service has issued a high-risk excessive rainfall warning, a designation reserved for only the most extreme weather events. This is not a drill. California is facing what meteorologists are calling a historic atmospheric river event that will reshape the landscape and test emergency response systems to their limits. The numbers are staggering. Forecasters predict up to 12 inches of rainfall in the mountains and foothill areas by Saturday, December 27th. Los Angeles is expected to receive 7.5 inches of rain, while communities like Covina, Santa Clarita, and Thousand Oaks could see between 6 to 7 inches. This represents months' worth of precipitation compressed into just 72 hours. But the rain is only part of the story. In the Sierra Nevada mountains, a true monster winter storm is unleashing its fury. Winter storm warnings extend across vast portions of California's central and eastern mountain ranges, with snowfall totals that are almost impossible to comprehend. The National Weather Service is forecasting up to 124 inches of snow. That's more than 10 feet in the highest elevations. Some areas could see localized accumulations exceeding this already astronomical figure. Wind conditions are equally catastrophic. Sustained winds of 60 miles per hour with gusts reaching 100 to 110 miles per hour are expected throughout the Sierra Nevada. These are hurricane-force winds that will create complete whiteout conditions, making travel absolutely impossible. The combination of heavy snow and extreme winds will create snowdrifts measured in dozens of feet, completely burying vehicles, structures, and roadways. Flooding crisis in Northern California. The San Francisco Bay Area is bracing for major impacts as flood alerts have been expanded to cover the entire region. Power outages from Tuesday night's storm left about 1/3 of San Francisco in darkness, stretching emergency crews thin just as another powerful storm system arrives. The Department of Emergency Management has shifted into full storm response mode. Major flooding has already been reported in parts of Northern California, with more intense rain and damaging winds expected through Christmas Day. Strong storm systems are forecast to impact the region with damaging winds capable of downing trees and power lines. Residents in flood-prone areas are being urged to prepare sandbags and consider evacuation if conditions deteriorate. Wind warnings are in effect for Toronto and surrounding areas in Canada, with northwestern winds gusting to 70 kilometers per hour and isolated gusts reaching 80 kilometers per hour. Local utility outages are possible as the system moves through the region. Unprecedented warmth in the central United States. In a stark contrast to the winter fury gripping the West Coast, the central United States is experiencing what meteorologists are calling unseasonable and potentially record-breaking warmth. A surge of warm air is spreading across much of the nation, driving temperatures 15 to 30 degrees above average as we approach Christmas. Nearly 24 states from the Rockies to the Appalachians are expected to shatter temperature records. Cities including St. Louis, Kansas City, Tulsa, Wichita, Albuquerque and Amarillo will see afternoon highs more typical of late April or early May rather than late December. Some locations may see daytime highs climb 25 to 30 degrees above normal, potentially setting both daytime high records and warm overnight low records. However, this warmth comes with its own hazards. Persistent low clouds and dense fog from the Gulf Coast through the Appalachians and Atlantic coast could significantly reduce visibility below 1/4 mile in some areas. This fog will create dangerous driving conditions and could disrupt both road travel and flight operations at major airports across the eastern United States. Winter storm warnings across 5 states. While California faces the most extreme conditions, 4 additional states are under winter storm warnings with dangerous and potentially life-threatening conditions. Washington State, the Cascades, including Snoqualmie Pass, Stevens Pass and Mount Rainier, are bracing for heavy snow with totals ranging from 1 to 3 feet. Paradise and Mount Baker could see even higher accumulations. Warnings remain in effect from Friday morning through Saturday afternoon, with hazardous travel conditions virtually guaranteed. Oregon, the east slopes of the Cascades, including Sisters and Sun River, face 6 to 10 inches of snow starting Friday morning. Officials are urging residents to avoid travel completely due to slick roads and the high probability of downed trees blocking major routes. Idaho mountain regions, including the Sawtooth and Stanley Basin and Sun Valley, are preparing for 1 to 2 feet of snow above 7,000 feet, accompanied by wind gusts up to 45 miles per hour. Several inches of accumulation are expected even below 7,000 feet, making all mountain travel extremely dangerous. Montana. Warnings cover the Absaroka and Beartooth and Bitterroot and Sapphire Mountains. Snowfall will range from 8 to 14 inches at Lolo Pass to 16 to 24 inches at Lost Trail Pass. Strong winds up to 45 miles per hour will create dangerous blowing and drifting snow. Most critically, avalanche danger will increase significantly, making backcountry travel potentially deadly. Wyoming. The most severe conditions are forecast for Wyoming's mountain ranges, including Yellowstone, Teton, and Wind River. Accumulations of 2 to 3 feet are expected, with localized areas potentially exceeding 3 feet. Wind gusts up to 55 miles per hour will create severe blowing and drifting conditions. Warnings remain in effect until Saturday morning, and officials strongly advise against all backcountry travel. All right, let's take a look at the 3-day forecast covering Christmas through December 27th. Starting with Christmas Day, December 25th, 2025, well, the western United States, especially California, is still under siege from that relentless atmospheric river. Southern California stays under a slight risk for excessive rainfall as the storm system just refuses to quit. Heavy rain will keep falling all day, particularly in the lower elevations of the Sierra Nevada, while the higher ground gets hammered with more heavy snow. Snow levels are gonna drop too, from above 8,000 feet down to about 6,000. So, yeah, that'll bring hazardous conditions to places that don't usually see this kind of snow. The Sierra Nevada is looking at its heaviest snowfall of the event right on Christmas Day, with snowfall rates potentially hitting 1 to 2 inches per hour at times. That's the kind of snow that'll bury any hopes of travel. Roads through the mountain passes, well, they'll be not just inadvisable, but downright impossible to cross. Now, over in the central United States, record warmth just keeps on rolling. That unseasonable air mass is at full strength for Christmas, with widespread temperatures running 20 to 30 degrees above normal. Lots of spots from Texas up through the Midwest and into the Ohio Valley are set to experience their warmest Christmas day ever recorded. Meanwhile, the eastern United States is dealing with a pretty complicated pattern. The Northeast will see moderate to heavy snow, especially in the interior. Over Pennsylvania and the Great Lakes, it's a mix of rain and snow, with the rain-snow line shifting depending on how the storm tracks. Temperatures stay above normal for most, but a bit of cooler air is starting to filter into northern New England. Looking north, Canada's in for a bitterly cold Christmas. Northern and eastern Maine, including Caribou and Bangor, will see highs in the single digits, with morning lows well below zero. Both cities are guaranteed a white Christmas. Bangor's already got 8 inches of snow on the ground, and Caribou's sitting at 13. Despite the cold, it'll be mostly dry across Canada, though the southern prairies could see a few flurries. Moving on to December 26th, Boxing Day. California's atmospheric river finally starts to weaken, but honestly, the impacts are still significant. Rainfall coverage and intensity begin to let up, especially in Southern California, but the mountains keep piling on the snow. The Sierra Nevada will add several more feet to what's already a historic total, with snow levels dropping closer to 6,000 feet. In the Pacific Northwest, fresh snow continues in the Cascades, with another 6 to 18 inches possible in the Washington and Oregon mountains. Ski areas that manage to stay open will have excellent conditions, but getting there will be a real challenge. Interstate corridors through the passes are still closed or only open for essential travel, with chains required. Across the Central Plains and Midwest, that warmth finally starts to moderate as the air mass shifts east. Temperatures are still above normal, just not as dramatically as on Christmas. A few places might still challenge daily record highs, but the worst of the heat is easing up. For the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, the weather pattern amps up, bringing a good shot at plowable snow from the upper Great Lakes all across the Northeast and into the northern Mid-Atlantic. For many places from Boston to Philly, this'll be the first significant snow of the season. 4 to 8 inches could pile up, with even more in spots with upslope enhancement. Snow will change over to freezing rain in parts of Pennsylvania and near the Great Lakes, making travel extremely dangerous. Even a thin glaze of ice can shut down roads and cause widespread power outages from the weight on trees and power lines. Up in Canada, freezing rain or snow develops across southern Ontario, including Toronto. So, hazardous conditions there too. Temperatures hover right around freezing, making it tough for the precipitation to decide if it wants to be rain or snow. That's about the worst-case scenario, with everything getting a coating of ice. Newfoundland And the Maritimes will see active weather too, with a mix of rain and snow as coastal storms move through. By December 27th, California's long-duration storm finally starts to wind down. The atmospheric river weakens a lot, and rain becomes more scattered and intermittent. Still, recovery's going to be a massive challenge because of the sheer scale of this event. Flooding will stick around even after the rain stops, as rivers and streams keep rising with runoff from the mountains. The Sierra Nevada will still see some snow showers, but not nearly as intense as before. The focus now shifts from survival to assessment and recovery. Highway departments will have their hands full clearing roads, and a lot of mountain passes will stay closed for days as crews dig through huge drifts and check for avalanche danger. In the Pacific Northwest, snow continues off and on in the mountains, but the worst is over. Most places will see 2 to 6 inches more. Ski resorts will start checking conditions and planning for reopening, but again, access roads are a big problem. Avalanche danger stays high with all that heavy snow from previous days. Central and eastern parts of the country will see temperatures moderate more toward normal. That extreme Christmas warmth is gone, replaced by more seasonable conditions. But, that temperature swing can bring its own headaches. Any snow that melted during the warm spell might refreeze, creating icy spots. An amplified shortwave system moves through the northeast late Saturday, pulling cooler air back in and setting the stage for temperatures to drop below normal by Monday, December 29th. That could mean more winter weather for areas that saw mostly rain during Christmas. And finally, up in Canada, the southern prairies start the weekend with some sunshine, but flurries move in by Saturday. Alberta and Saskatchewan will see the coldest air mass of the season, with temperatures dropping fast. Calgary, for example, will go from +5 degrees Celsius on Thursday to -25 on Friday, a jaw-dropping 30-degree drop in just 24 hours. The polar vortex split that happened earlier this month is still funneling Arctic air southward, and this pattern isn't breaking anytime soon. Frigid conditions look to stick around well into the following week, maybe right through the new year. Travel impact analysis. Immediate travel impacts for December 24. Travel conditions across much of the United States and Canada range from challenging to honestly just impossible on this Christmas Eve. The timing really couldn't be worse, since this is one of the peak travel days of the entire year. In California, all non-essential travel into the Sierra Nevada and mountain regions is strongly discouraged. Interstate 80, Highway 50, and other major mountain corridors are either completely closed or have extremely limited access, with chains required. A lot of folks trying to reach ski destinations or mountain cabins for the holiday are stranded, and emergency services are stretched right to their limit. The California Department of Transportation has activated its highest level of emergency protocols. Multiple rescue operations are underway for vehicles trapped in snow, but conditions are so severe that even rescue vehicles are struggling to reach those motorists. The combination of zero visibility, impassable drifts and hurricane-force winds creates conditions where emergency personnel just can't safely operate. In Northern California and the Bay Area, flooding has closed a bunch of roads. Highway departments are working around the clock, managing closures, coordinating evacuations, and doing their best to keep major arterial roads open. Power outages from earlier storms are making things even tougher, with traffic signals out in a lot of places. In the Pacific Northwest, major highways through the Cascades are facing similar conditions to California's Sierra Nevada. Stevens Pass, Snoqualmie Pass, and Santiam Pass are either closed or moving traffic at a crawl, with mandatory chain requirements. The Washington State Department of Transportation and Oregon DOT are both advising travelers to delay trips through mountain areas until conditions improve, and honestly, that might not happen until next week. Now, in the Midwest and Central Plains, even though temperatures are warm, dense fog is creating its own set of serious hazards. Visibility drops to a quarter-mile or less in many areas, especially overnight and in the early morning hours. This fog isn't expected to improve much through Christmas Day, so we're looking at extended periods of dangerous driving conditions. There have already been multiple vehicle pile-ups on major interstates where fog suddenly drops visibility to near zero. Turning to the northeast and mid-Atlantic, as snow moves into the region, travel conditions deteriorate rapidly. Major cities like New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. are seeing their first significant snow of the season, catching a lot of drivers off guard. Airport operations are starting to experience delays as snow removal ramps up. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey is reporting growing delays at Newark, JFK, and LaGuardia airports. Looking ahead for December 25 through 27, the day after Christmas, December 26, is forecast to be one of the busiest travel days of the entire holiday period. AA predicts that 122 million Americans will travel this holiday season, which is a 2.3% increase over last year. About 8.03 million Americans will fly domestically during this period, surpassing 8 million for the first time ever. Philadelphia International Airport alone is expecting over 1 million passengers between Wednesday and January 4th, with peak days on December 26, 27, and 29. Officials are strongly advising travelers to arrive at least 2 hours before domestic flights and 3 hours before international flights to deal with expected long lines and security delays. The busiest day to fly is predicted to be December 28, followed by December 26. With weather complications adding to the usual holiday volume, travelers really need to have backup plans ready. Are you prepared to drive instead if flights are cancelled? Can you postpone your trip if conditions become too dangerous? On the highways, INIX traffic analysts warn that several major corridors will see dramatic increases in travel times. Key routes with the worst congestion include Chicago to Indianapolis on I-65 South, a 54% increase on December 26, Denver to Fort Collins on I-25 South, nearly double the normal drive time on December 26, Los Angeles to Palm Springs on I-10 East, 89% longer than normal on December 26. New York to the Hamptons on the Long Island Expressway, a 90% increase on December 22, and Tampa to Orlando on I-4 East, 79% longer on December 26. Congestion spikes are forecast nationwide, from Houston's I-45 corridor to Portland's I-84 stretch. San Francisco, Seattle and San Diego are all facing extended travel times on both December 23 and 26. AAAA advises travelers to plan around these peak periods, leave early in the morning if possible, and prepare for much longer commutes on the busiest routes. Emergency preparedness and safety recommendations. For California residents, if you're in California, especially in mountain communities or flood-prone areas, your situation requires immediate attention. Do not attempt to travel through mountain areas under any circumstances. The combination of extreme snow, high winds and zero visibility makes survival unlikely if you become stranded. Prepare for extended power outages. Have flashlights, batteries, a battery-powered or hand-crank radio, and enough food and water for at least 72 hours. Do not use generators indoors or in enclosed spaces because of the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. Never drive through flooded roadways. Just 6 inches of moving water can knock you off your feet, and 1 foot of water can sweep away most vehicles. Turn around, don't drown. If you're ordered to evacuate, leave immediately. Emergency management officials don't issue evacuation orders lightly. Delaying could put you and first responders at risk. Monitor multiple sources for the latest information: local news, NOAA weather radio, the emergency alert system, and official social media accounts from your local emergency management agency and the National Weather Service. For Mountain State residents, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Washington and Oregon folks in mountainous areas should follow similar precautions. Avoid all unnecessary travel until conditions improve. If you absolutely have to travel, let someone know your route and expected arrival time. Prepare winter survival kits for your vehicles, including blankets, extra clothing, high-energy food, water, a flashlight, shovel and phone charger. Be aware of avalanche danger. The heavy snow loading dramatically increases avalanche risk. Avoid steep slopes, especially those facing north or northeast, where snow accumulation is heaviest. Check road conditions before you go using 511 services or your State Department of Transportation website. Conditions can change quickly. A road that was open an hour ago might now be closed. For central U.S. residents, despite the unusually warm temperatures, hazards are still out there. Exercise extreme caution when driving in fog. Use low-beam headlights, reduce your speed, and increase following distance. Never use high beams in fog, since they reflect off the moisture droplets and actually reduce visibility even more. Be prepared for rapid temperature drops. As the weather pattern shifts late in the weekend, temperatures may fall quickly, so have appropriate clothing handy. Watch for icy conditions on bridges and overpasses, which freeze before regular roadways, even when air temperatures are above freezing. For northeast and Canadian residents, prepare for winter weather including snow and ice. Clear storm drains near your property to prevent ice dams and localized flooding. Have shovels, ice melt, and snow removal equipment ready. The first significant snow often catches people unprepared. Dress in layers if you're heading outdoors. The combination of falling temperatures and wind chill can lead to frostbite in exposed skin within minutes. Never use outdoor heating devices like grills or patio heaters indoors. Carbon monoxide is odorless and deadly. Looking ahead, extended outlook. The weather pattern causing these extreme conditions is showing some remarkable persistence. The polar vortex split that happened at the start of meteorological winter is still dominating the pattern, with a blocking high-pressure system locked in over western North America and a deep trough extending far south over the central and eastern parts of the continent. Forecasters expect this pattern to stay entrenched through mid-December and maybe even beyond. That means continued rounds of Arctic cold outbreaks across Canada and the northern United States, while the western blocking pattern keeps funneling moisture-laden atmospheric river events into California and the Pacific Northwest. Climate Prediction Center outlooks for the rest of December through February indicate that La Niña conditions are expected to continue, reinforcing the typical pattern of wetter-than-normal conditions across the Pacific Northwest and Northern Plains. while the southern tier of states might see drier than normal conditions, except where storm tracks bring the occasional heavy precipitation event. If you're planning travel or outdoor activities in the coming weeks, this pattern suggests continued active and potentially hazardous winter weather across much of North America. Stay informed, plan ahead, and always prioritize safety over schedule. Conclusion. This Christmas Eve, 2025 finds North America in the grip of multiple dangerous weather systems that really span the entire continent. From the catastrophic flooding and record snow in California to the unprecedented warmth in the central states, from the developing winter storm in the northeast to the brutal cold settling into Canada, weather is dominating headlines and disrupting millions of holiday travel plans. The National Weather Service emphasizes that these are not your typical winter weather events. The high-risk excessive rainfall warning for Southern California, the winter storm warnings calling for over 10 feet of snow, and wind gusts exceeding 100 miles per hour.